we want to motivate people in the prayer hub. We want to keep them motivated. So how do we keep them motivated? Because what we see in the prayer movement, right, is people come in and they're ready to run, they're excited to be a part, but then maybe after 2 or 3 weeks or 2 or 3 months, then they're not as motivated as they were when they first came in. So how do we keep people motivated? A good leader motivates people to tap into the maximum potential for their lives. A good leader motivates people to tap into maximum potential for their lives. So, as a leader, as a prayer leader, your job, part of your responsibility, is to motivate people to pray, right? So, let me give you, I want to say 10 things, 10 things, 10 ways to keep your members motivated in the prayer hub. The first one is keep the why in front of them. Keep the why in front of them. Keep the why in front of them. Why? Keep the why. Why are you there? Why are you praying? What is the vision? What is the purpose? What's at stake if we don't pray? If your why is strong enough, you will never lose your passion. If your why is strong enough, you will go through hell and high water to reach the outcome. If your why is strong enough, you will not quit. So keep the why in front of them. Why are we meeting? Why are we doing this? Why is this important? What's at stake? What if we don't do this? Remember, God told Ezekiel, I looked for a man to stand in the gap so I wouldn't have to bring judgment, but I did not find anyone. Isn't that amazing? And so, it's important because we are pushing back darkness. We are praying in revival. We are praying for souls and cities, strengthening of churches. Why? So keep them motivated by keeping the why in front of them. You might even want to start your prayer hub meeting reiterating the why or recasting the vision. The second thing we want to do to keep people motivated, listen, this is important. This is important. Remember, we're dealing with people. We're not dealing with robots here. We're not dealing with prayer machines. People might be prayer machines, like you pray like a machine, like, whoa, pop, 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 powerful, nonstop, energize your bunny. But we're dealing with people and we need to value them. So, number two, recognize their contribution. Recognize their contribution. Now, that doesn't mean that you have to, every meeting, call everybody's name out personally and thank them. There's not enough time for that, especially as your prayer hub grows. But either publicly or behind the scenes, recognize. So if somebody really brought forth a powerful prayer in that meeting, I mean, they just broke it open, they just broke the whole atmosphere open, then at the end of that prayer broadcast, you might want to say, thank you, Teresa, because boy, we were struggling, we were pressing. And man, you just had the Spirit of God, and you just popped it right open. Recognize their contribution to the group. And again, you can't do this every week with everybody on an individual basis, but you can post a post in your Facebook group that says, thank you for everybody. It was a powerful call. Here's what I feel happened tonight. And, in particular, Larry really brought some strong revelation or we want to recognize people's contributions, either publicly or behind the scenes. It's really important. If people feel valued, they'll be motivated. If people feel recognized, they'll be motivated. And even if you have people in your prayer group who don't pray out loud, you want to recognize them. Thank you for being so consistent. Sarah, you are there every single week. I know that you're not really comfortable praying out loud in the group. Hey, that's cool. I'm just glad that you're there because you being there is like this consistent, steady force, and it makes me feel good knowing that you're there. So you have to value people. You have to recognize people, right? And the bigger your group gets, the harder it is to do that individually. So, but you can never go wrong telling the entire group how much you appreciate them. And that leads me into my third point, which is show gratitude. Would you please? Would you please be grateful? Please be grateful. There are, and in my hindsight 2020 message, I shared 7 things scientifically proven to happen when you have gratitude. When you appreciate people, they'll show up more. When you appreciate people, they'll do more for you. They'll go out of their way for you. They want to be around you. So always thank the people who came. Why do I have to thank them? Aren't they doing it for God? Yes, they're doing it for God. They're doing it unto God, but they're doing it under your leadership, right? So show gratitude. Thank them for being participants in the call. Thank them for being part of the movement. Thank them. Thank them for praying. Show that gratitude. Listen, when I started Awakening House of Prayer, I stood by myself for years. I was especially grateful when I saw another human being step into the prayer room. And so be grateful, right? Be grateful. Be grateful. Be grateful. Number 4, this is really important because we have to have a culture where we celebrate wins. Look, prayer is not a cakewalk. Prayer is hard work. Yes or no? Prayer is hard work. I mean, it's enjoyable, but it's hard work. I was on a prayer call this morning and I was just taking prayer requests. It wasn't even my platform. They just invited me up and they kept calling on me to pray for people. And I began to pray. I began to break a sweat praying. It's hard work. Sometimes it's hard work. You're pressing past darkness. But if all we do is work, work, work and push, push, push and sweat, sweat, sweat and plow, 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 but we never see the fruit or we never celebrate the breakthrough or we never share the breakthrough, then people get weary. So we want to make sure that we're sharing breakthroughs. Listen, even if it's a small breakthrough, we want to make sure that we're celebrating victories. We want to make sure that we're celebrating each other. Hey, look, it was just 3 of us. Now we have 5 in our prayer group. We're breaking through. God is giving us momentum. Look at this. We prayed about this issue in our city, and look what God did. God moved. Look, we prayed for somebody in the prayer hub last week. They were sick, and then they got better. It doesn't have to be some grandiose, mega, massive breakthrough. Count your blessings, count your victories, celebrate your wins, because when you focus on what's going right, more good things happen. When you focus on everything going wrong, you get discouraged. When you focus on how hard sometimes it is, you get worn out. But when we focus on the success, the victory, the breakthrough, we are going to keep our momentum and our motivation. Another thing you could do, number 5, another thing you can do to keep people motivated is to do a short training at the beginning of your prayer meetings. As a matter of fact, that might actually help incentivize people to get there on time. That might help incentivize people to get there on time. Do a short 15 minutes on something you learned about prayer. Get an outline, or take notes on a YouTube video or something and teach 3 points. And that will help to motivate them because they're learning. In other words, you're filling them back up. They're not just pouring out. You're investing in them. They're not just investing in your prayer hub. You're investing back in them. This is what I do with you, isn't it? Right? Do a short training. Actually, I do several short trainings, but do a short training. Right? This shows them, again, that they're valuable, that they're worthy of your time, that you are laboring not just with them, but for them. This is another way of expressing your appreciation. This is a way of recognizing their contribution. And then as you go on, you raise up a Timothy, you can give them, which leads me to number 6. Number 6 is give people responsibility. You want to motivate them? Give people responsibility. I'm not talking about tasks, a list of tasks. I'm talking about a responsibility. There's a difference between giving somebody a task and giving somebody oversight, giving somebody responsibility. One of our prayer hub leaders has taken ownership, and I love when people take ownership. It's one thing to delegate something to somebody short term. It's another thing to give somebody ownership over something. And one of our prayer hub leaders has taken ownership over reviewing the reports, to parse out the challenges that you all are having, to parse out the breakthroughs, the prophetic words, to parse out the questions. And I skim them when they come in, but I don't have to dive deep and try to identify trend lines and try to parse out statistics. I don't have time for that. If I did all that, I wouldn't be able to prepare all of these teachings for you, right? So I gave this person not just a task, but a responsibility. And when you give people, and when you invest in people authority, when you invest in people responsibility, and not just a task, not just a to-do list, but they rise to the occasion if there's leadership in them at all. And that's also a great way to recognize the Timothys in your group by giving them responsibility for something. This is your responsibility every week to put up the prayer banner for the theme and find the prayer points. You give them responsibility. And that helps you identify leaders as well. but it also keeps them motivated. There are some people who will show up to your prayer hub and they don't want to just pray. They want to get in the action. They want to take a bigger role. Not everybody will want to do that, but find the ones that do, and they will be motivated and they will bring other people into your prayer hub. So give them responsibility. Another thing, number 7, another thing, and I've mentioned this in other teachings, but it's worth recognizing again for the sake of keeping people motivated. And that is, at the end, consider, you don't have to do these things, but consider praying for their personal needs. Having a time, and you have to be careful because this could go on for hours if you're not careful. But, set aside, let them know at the beginning, the last 15 minutes, if anybody needs prayer, we're going to pray for you. And if there's too many people and too much prayer, then what you do is you write down all their prayer requests and you say, I'm going to take this into prayer offline because I have respect your time. I know we said we were going to take 15 minutes. There's too many needs. There's too many prayer requests. So what we're going to do is I'm going to write all these down and I'm going to take this offline and I'm going to pray for you. So pray for their personal need at the end. That motivates people because then they get the idea again that they're valued. They're being recognized. Their need is being recognized. And just because they're intercessors doesn't mean they don't have messes or issues in their life, right? So we have to care about the people. We're in the people business. Understand, we're in the prayer business, but we're in the people business. God is in the people business, and it takes people to pray his will. Therefore, we're in the people business, not just the prayer business. We don't want to be robotic or mechanical or negate the real life needs and the crises and the trials of people. We want to be able to pray for their personal needs at the end. Number eight, create what I call stretch goals. Create what I call stretch goals. Stretch. Listen, if you stretch a rubber band out 5 times, you stretch that rubber band never goes fully back to the way that it was. That's why eventually you have to get new rubber bands because they break. They've been stretched so far, they break. Now, we won't break if we stretch. We let God stretch us, we won't break. But you stretch a rubber band 5 times and it doesn't go back to exactly the way that it was because it's been stretched. So a stretch goal is a goal that's just beyond your reach of your current capability. Just beyond your reach. And that doesn't mean you'll meet the goal, but if your goal doesn't stretch you a little bit, it's not a good goal. If the goal doesn't stretch you a little bit, it's not. If it's too easily attainable, it's not a goal, it's just a task. If we don't have to stretch to get to a goal, then we're not going to grow in the process of reaching the end line. So remember, you may have heard me teach this somewhere. Goals have to be clear and measurable. When we make out a goal, when we write out a goal, and they should be written down, scientists show that we are, like 80% more likely to reach a goal if we write them down, which is why I asked all of you in the prayer hub to write out your goals. I think 5 or 6 of you did it. Goals have to be clear and measurable. So you can't just say, well, my goal is to lose weight. Okay. So if you lose a pound, will you be happy? No, I want to lose more weight. Well, how much weight? Well, I want to lose 20 pounds. Okay, so if you lose that 20 pounds over the next 5 years, will you be happy with that? No, I want to lose it faster than that. Well, by when do you want to lose it? Well, I'd like to lose it in the next 2 months, 3 months. So if you're going to create a goal, it needs to be clear and measurable. How much by when? What does victory look like? And so when you create stretch goals, it has to be a little bit out of your reach. If it's not out of your reach, it's not really a goal. It's just a series of tasks to do something that's easily done, right? So one of my goals is to have 1,000 prayer hubs by November 2021. Now that's an audacious goal. That is a goal that will take God Almighty himself intervening and all of you praying and reaching out and multiplying, right? And so, the Lord gave me a tagline, the million intercessor prayer movement. God gave me that. The million intercessor prayer movement. That's crazy. Isn't that crazy? Well, it is. But guess what? I could say, well, I want to have 100 prayer hubs. That was my first goal. We met that. Then my next goal was 250. We're right on the cusp of that. And the next goal after that's 500. And then 1,000 will be easy after you get 500 because you get momentum. But those early goals you make, you have to stretch. You have to stretch. And so that's one way to keep your team motivated is to have a corporate goal or a prayer hub goal. And maybe your goal is Maybe your goal for your prayer hub is we want to meet. We want to start meeting twice a month by April. We want to have enough intercessors, or we have a leader and a number two, and so the number two can do the second meeting and another day of the week. We want to have that by April. We want to have 2 meetings a week by April. That's a good goal, because now you've told me how much by when, and that might be a stretch for some of you because you might have 3 people in your group, right? When we started Awakening House of Prayer, we had Friday night prayer. About a year ago, we started Monday night prayer because I really felt like we needed to have more prayer meetings than church services, and it was annoying me. So we started 2. Well, the person that was leading that blew up, had all kind of issues, and um, all kinds of stuff was going on that unfortunately we found out about. And I said, well, I guess we're gonna have to shut it down. But another leader rose up to help take it over the Monday nights, and now we have a rotation where there's a rotation of, I think, 3 people right now, where they rotate so that all of them don't have to go every week. And so, God will breathe on something, but you have to know what God wants for you. So create those stretch goals. And I could talk a lot more about goals, but we won't right now. Let them know, number 9, let your prayer hub leaders know, let your prayer hub members know that you are looking for leaders to raise up. When you let your prayer hub members know that you're looking for leaders to raise up, those who have leadership potential, those who know they're called to do something more than sit on the sidelines and just participate now and then, they will begin to rise up and they will begin to ask you, what can I do to help? When you let people know that you're looking for leaders, those who are leaders will respond. Now, you might get some who respond who flake out or flame out or fizzle out or sizzle out. But when you let people know, I'm looking to raise people up, you will have more people gravitate toward you who really want to be raised up. And that will motivate them to show up, right? If they want to be raised up and you tell them, I want to raise people up, they will show up. They will show up. Number 10, ask them for their feedback. Would you please ask them for their feedback? Let them help shape the hub. Let them help solve, let them help you identify the challenges. They see things that you don't see. They have answers that you don't have. So make them feel, this goes back to making them feel valuable. We're talking about motivating people in your prayer hub. Well, when they think that you care what they think, when they know that you care what they think, even if their idea wasn't great and you couldn't implement it, at least you gave them the opportunity to put it on the table so it could be hashed out, thought out, prayed out. So ask them for their feedback. I mean, you don't have to do that in every prayer meeting. You could email them after, you could text them after, you could put it in the Facebook group after. Hey, how did you think that went tonight? What could we do better? One of our values at Awakening House of Prayer and Awakening Prayer Hubs is make it better. How can we make it better? And if you're always looking for ways to make it better, God will show you ways to make it better. You find what you're seeking most of the time. If it's godly, you get what you pursue most of the time, whether it's godly or not. So those are 10 ways that we can motivate people in our prayer hub to be more active, to be more engaged, to keep coming back, and more and more and more.